Infamous and Prototype are one of my favorite superhero games to play, mainly because they're not your typical superhero game. You don't have to always play as the hero, you can also play as a villain, which gives you the freedom to do whatever you want. And today I wanted to go back and not only play both games, but also compare them to determine which was better, mainly because there's always been a debate going on. Well, this is where it ends. In order to determine the superior project, I looked at 5 things that I believe should be in a good superhero game, like missions, characters, boss fights, movement, and combat. Since both games already have a pretty good story, I feel like I didn't need to include that. A quick side note, this video will contain spoilers for both games. However, I will not go into too much depth explaining everything. With that out of the way, let's get into the first category. Missions. Now me personally, I think the missions in Infamous are decent. They're not the best and do get a bit repetitive, but for the most part I still enjoyed them. My favorite mission in the game would have to be defending Alden Cell, mainly because of how chaotic this mission is, but it's still really fun to play. There's also missions where we go underground and Cole gets electrocuted, gaining new powers. My favorite ability being the lightning strike we unlock at the end of the game. I'm not going to say every single mission is fun, there are still some bad ones out there, like the bus mission, which may just be one of the hardest sections in the game. There's also the hot air balloon chase we have to do while getting attacked by a plane shooting bombs at you, which honestly made me want to uninstall the game. To be completely fair, me liking the Infamous missions mostly comes down to nostalgia. Many players find them to be boring and repetitive, and they're not completely wrong, but I think it's done pretty well, especially considering the fact that it came out in 2009. I also like how they include the karma choices every now and then, so I'll give it a pass. Now moving on to Prototype, the missions were done really poorly. Almost every single mission is the exact same. It's very similar to the Hulk game Radical Entertainment released back in 2005. My biggest complaint with the missions is how many times you have to steal a tank or hijack a helicopter. It's like Radical Entertainment was obsessed with it, and I didn't think it was possible, but this game's flying mechanics might be worse than GTA 5's. So the clear winner for the first round is Infamous. Moving on to movement. Starting with Prototype, this game has amazing movement. It was honestly ahead of its time. It kind of reminds me of swinging in Spider-Man because of how smooth it is. The way you can run on buildings just like you do on the street feels amazing, along with the parkour and flying mechanics in this game, which are done really well. You can travel across the map in seconds, whereas Cole doesn't unlock his traversal abilities a few hours into the game. So for the most part, you're stuck running around or doing basic parkour, which can get pretty boring. But once Cole finally unlocks his powers, traveling does get a lot easier. However, a major drawback with the mobility is that it's very limited, meaning it's only effective when you're near buildings, power lines, or train tracks, which kind of sucks. Another con with the mobility is that the flying can be a bit weird at times. Cole will often fly past a building when you're trying to grab onto something, or he'll just fall down and now you have to spend 10 seconds climbing up. At least they fixed the movement mechanics in Infamous 2 by giving Cole more powers to use. However, this video isn't about comparing the sequels, so the winner for this round is Prototype. Next category is boss fights. Starting with Infamous, the first main boss we fight is Sasha, and this boss fight is pretty weird if I'm being honest.
Whoa, 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 hey.
But the boss fight itself is really easy. Just shoot at her until she's weak, then get close enough and start mashing buttons so Cole can attack her. The next boss we face is this giant robot. I can't explain why. It's so fun launching attacks at this thing until his light turns red. As for Alden, it's pretty much the exact same thing, so I don't need to go into too much depth. And the final boss we face is Kessler, easily the best boss in the game. In the first phase, it's just a regular one-on-one, while Kessler shoots beams at you. But later on, he starts summoning drones, which kind of ruined the fight.
Ruining it.
But if I look past that, it's still a pretty good boss fight. For Prototype, I don't even know if I can call them boss fights. It's never a fair 1v1. You're always getting attacked by other enemies. Then out of nowhere, the military shows up, and now you have to fight them too, while the boss is constantly throwing objects at you. And don't even get me started on Elizabeth Green. I don't know what Radical Entertainment thought when they were making that boss fight, because it was not fun to play. The only fight I kind of enjoyed was the final boss. I know it may sound like I'm being unfair, but I'm not. Prototype truly has some terrible boss fights. Feel free to buy the game yourself. I believe it's $40, which is pretty insane for a game that came out in 2009. With that being said, I'm going to have to give Infamous another round. Moving on to the next category, characters. In Infamous, we have Zeke, Moya, John, Kessler, who all play an interesting role in the story. The dynamic between Cole and Kessler was done really well, especially with the crazy plot twist where we learned that Kessler is actually Cole from the future. He traveled back in time and was the mastermind behind everything. He's the reason the blast blast went off to give Cole his powers, and he's also responsible for the death of Trish. He did all of this to make Cole stronger, so that he can defeat the Beast, who is the main villain in the next game. Overall, Kessler was an amazing antagonist. Then we have Moya, who wasn't actually an FBI agent, she was just using Cole. Her true goal was to take the Race Spear and capture Cole for experimentation, but luckily we find out the truth from John.
What do you want me to tell Moya?
Who the hell's Moya?
Your wife?
You're getting played. I've never been married and don't know anyone named Moya. 1 minute, 19 seconds.
You're screwing with me, right? She's an FBI agent just like you.
FBI agent? Yeah, that'd be the day. I hate those bastards.
And after that, we completely cut Moya off. Even though she was annoying and I never liked her, she was still an interesting character. As for John, he wasn't in the game much until the ending. It doesn't matter if you choose to activate or destroy the Race Spear, John is going to get disintegrated either way. This leads to him turning into the Beast and becoming the main villain in Infamous 2, which was a perfect setup in my opinion. Finally, there's Zeke, who's Cole's best friend. He's always by our side and actually plays an important role in the story, since he's the first one to find out the truth about Moya. However, later in the game, he ends up betraying Cole just to try and get powers, but Zeke redeems himself in the next game. Overall, the characters in this game and the roles they played made the story a lot more interesting. Now moving on to Prototype, besides Alex, there aren't that many memorable characters in the game. Most of them are irrelevant. Some characters had potential to be interesting, but Radical Entertainment barely did anything with them. It's like they appear in a cutscene and then you won't see them again for a few hours until you're either fighting or killing them, which kind of ruins the game's story in a way, if that makes sense. So this category goes to Infamous. Moving on to our final round, Combat. Both games have amazing combat, but this is where Radical Entertainment put all their focus. This is where Prototype finally shines. I still prefer the combat in Infamous, mainly because of how bad Prototype's camera angle and lock-on system are. Half the reason I lost to the bosses in this game was because I couldn't lock on to the right person.
What is wrong with the cameras, man? Show the angles right. Cameras are literally off, man, at the wrong time.
With that being said, the combat itself is still really fun. You can use weapons like the blade, claw, hammer fist. My favorite being the blade since it's overpowered. You can basically one-shot anything. Also, later on in the game, Alex unlocks this cool looking armor, which is pretty helpful in fights, but the only downside is you can't fly when you have it on. But nonetheless, if you ignore the camera angle, the combat is amazing. The same goes for Infamous. Cole has lightning powers so you can shoot at enemies. The hand-to-hand combat is also good. Another cool power Cole has are these lightning blades you can unlock if you have enough XP. However, I'll still give Prototype the round here, making the final score 3-2 with the clear winner being Infamous. Now obviously both games have their pros and cons, but I always believed Infamous was the better game, and I'm not saying this to throw any shades toward Prototype, which is also an amazing game, but I grew up playing Infamous a lot more, which is why it's always been my favorite. That pretty much wraps up the debate for me. Let me know what your favorite superhero game is, and I'll see you in the next one.